All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special webinar series on Re-engineering the Government OS, an industry webinar proudly brought to you by the Smart Nation Office in Singapore and SGTech. Now, to our regular guests, this is part 3. Welcome back. And to our new friends, this is part of a 3-part series. If you guys are interested in part 1 and part 2 of this series, they are now available on the SGTech website. You can watch them in your own time. Part 1 was about taking a citizen-centric approach towards designing government solutions, and part 2 was about cloud solutions and the government itself. So today, we're very pleased to be welcoming you guys once again to part 3, developing AI and census capability. Now, before we get started on this, I will always have to give you guys a safe harbor statement. The information provided in this webinar really is meant to be the intention of education and learning. Please always seek your own independent legal and accounting advice before conducting any business or investment decisions. Now, we try our best to make sure that all information is as clear and accurate as possible, but please let us know if anything is off. We're always happy to take your comments and your suggestions as well. Now, my name is Ivan. I'm a cooperative counselor with SGTech. So, of course, what is SGTech? Now, SGTech is the premier trade association for the tech industry in Singapore. We represent more than 900 members, from the startups to the SME in the ICT space to the MNCs taking part in this very vibrant technology space that we have in Singapore. So we are the premier trade association, once again, for the tech industry itself. So we are working together with GovTech and together with SNDGO, or the Smart Nation Office under the Prime Minister Office, as part of this series of events to provide relevancy to our audience, which is our regular members from the ICT sector, and to the SME community in Singapore as well. Now, as you guys know, the Government of Singapore has announced a $3.5 billion budget this year for ICT projects, and more than 80% of it will be open to SME in Singapore itself. So we thought that it's very relevant for us to provide this kind of webinar series in collaboration with them, so that our member companies and our friends in the ICT community will be able to take part in those tenders, as well get a better insight about how the government is thinking about technology and about change and digitalization. We always get these questions. So before we get started, I want to give you guys 3 pointers. Number 1, the slides, where applicable today, will be available on the SGTech website 1 day after this session is over. Today, part of the slides will be shared based on our agreement, and therefore they'll be available on the SGTech website later. Now, recording of this will also be available. This will be available 1 day later. And last but not least, as this is a webinar, please use the Q&A function if you have any questions for us. Please state your name and your company, and then ask them in the Q&A function. I will take a selection of them later during our Q&A session. I have 1 hour with you guys, so let's keep it compact, let's keep it tight, and enjoy with us as you go through this session itself. And of course, I want to, before I introduce our speakers today, I also want to make a quick shout out. Today is SAF Day, so to our men and women in service, and of course, all our servicemen and women as well, happy SAF Day. So today we have 3 speakers in our panel session. First thing first, we're going to have Huang Xuexing, the Senior Assistant Director for National AI Office at SNDGO, followed by Jia Yi, Distinguished Engineer at GovTech, and our very own SGTech member, Teaming, who is from our AI and HPC chapter, joining us in the panel session. We'll go with Xuexing first, followed by Jia Yi and Teaming. I will flash this slide again. If you guys have any questions for us later, or you would like to follow up with the speakers, these are the respective email. SGTech email and GovTech email are on the website and on the webinar view right now. So without further ado, can I pass my time over to Xuexing, Senior Assistant Director, National AI Office at Smart Nation Office, to talk to us about capabilities the government are having in the AI and sensory capabilities. Xuexing, over to you.
Thank you, Ivan. Hello, everybody. My name is Xuexing. I'm from the National AI Office. I'll be sharing my screen now for the presentation. Can everybody see?
Perfect. We can see it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, so I will start off with my presentation right now. So I'll be talking about our national AI strategy. We have attached a QR code in this first slide. So members who are interested can use the QR code to access more information. Okay, so before I go into our national AI strategy, I would like to first talk about our smart nation strategy, because we see our national AI strategy as the next bound of smart nation. So we embarked on smart nation in 2017, and the aim really is to apply general technology to solve real world problems in Singapore so that we can make a difference in people's lives and to impact citizens across the whole of society. Under Smart Nation, we have three broad thrusts: digital government, digital economy, and digital society. For digital government, our aim is really to create a first-class public service that's digital to the core. So, and to make use of technology to improve the way we deliver government services, as well as to improve our policy making. For digital economy, the aim really is to transform economy, our industries through digitalization, and to improve the jobs for Singaporeans and to improve business efficacy. For this digital society, our aim really is to increase Singaporeans' access and literacy for digital, and also to increase digital participation. Under the Smart Nation strategy, we have embarked on a number of strategic national projects which we think are critical to transform the way we live and work. The first is the National Digital Identity, e-payments, Smart Nation sensor platform, where we are planning to install certain sensors to track important aspects to do with lives in Singapore, for example, traffic. We are promoting Singaporeans conveniently in an app form tailored to their particular moment in their life. We have also embarked on a strategic national project called Codex to re-engineer the infrastructure within government. So we have embarked on our Smart Nation strategy for a number of years now, and we think that it is timely for us to take the next step to focus on AI. We think this is important because AI has a lot of potential to improve lives and to address some of the national challenges that we have. And we see AI as the next bound of our economic growth. We also recognize that the AI wave is coming, whether we like it or not, and we need to act soon so that we can proactively address the risks and issues that AI brings. We think that Singapore is well placed to embark on this journey because we have strengths in technology deployment built up from our Smart Nation days and in the past as well. We have a strong workforce and a population that is familiar with technology. We have integrated some of the data flows within Singapore, and we have good data sets that are available. And we also think that we can leverage our status as a global and regional hub. So our approach for our national AI strategy is threefold. First, we think it's important for us to focus on key sectors. These are in transport and logistics, manufacturing, finance, safety and security, cybersecurity, smart cities and estates, healthcare, education, and government. We think that these are sectors that we traditionally have strengths in, and we will glean the most out of AI if we were to focus AI on these sectors. We also think that for AI, it's important to focus on development and deployment as well as development, because we see the main impediment in using AI right now not being the technology, but rather the challenges to do with technology deployment. So for example, in the healthcare sector, we see a lot of useful models being invented right now, some of which are even more effective than our doctors. But they're not being deployed for use right now because of the challenges to do with integrating the models to the hospital's processes, getting stakeholders buy-in, getting over regulatory and governance hurdles. So in order for AI to really benefit citizens, we think that it's really important for us to focus both on deployment as well as the development of AI technology. The last trust is human centricity. We think that it's important to put people in the center of what we do, so that eventually the AI solutions are designed for the benefit of our citizens and they benefit from it. So our vision for our national AI strategy is really for Singapore to be a leader in developing and deploying scalable, impactful AI solutions in key sectors of high value and relevance to our citizens and businesses by 2030. For our AI strategy, we have two main thrusts: our national AI projects and the ecosystem enabler. So I'll go through each of them in sequence. First, for the national AI project, so we felt that having a strategy is not enough, and we need to get our hands dirty to embark on certain key important projects so that we can learn from the process and improve along the way. So we really hope that these projects can help guide investment in R&D, generate lead demand to anchor talent and capabilities in Singapore, and also guide how we develop the supporting digital infrastructure to enable AI in Singapore. We've identified 5 as a start, but we are constantly looking out for new impactful projects to pursue in the future. So I will go through, because of time constraints, I'll not go through all of the projects. I will just go through the first 3, and if there are questions regarding education and safety and security, maybe we can take it up during the Q&A. So first, for transport and logistics, which is our intelligent freight planning use case. For this, our aim really is to improve the logistics flow in Singapore. And as a start, what we're hoping to focus on is on container movement. And this is between the ports, the container depots, as well as the warehouses where the goods are being delivered. So we see that the industry currently is quite fragmented with a lot of different players involved, a lot of hauliers who run the trucks to haul the containers back and forth, as well as the container depot operators, as well as the port operators. And one challenge right now that we see in this industry is that there is not enough coordination at the ecosystem level. So a lot of the trucks would move empty, will make empty trips from one of the nodes to another. So for example, from the container depot, they will offload the container, and then it will be empty and it will move to the ports just to collect another container. So we were thinking that if we could pull some of these jobs together and make more of the trips of the container trucks revenue generating, we could improve the productivity and the earnings of the sector. So that's what we aim to do with this project, to really pull and dynamically assign the trucking jobs, and also to route the different trucks intelligently so that productivity is improved. And hopefully through the collection of information for this project, we can also glean more information on how different jobs are located and how roads are being used, so that we can better plan and model the ecosystem in Singapore. The next project is on seamless and efficient municipal services. This project looks at applying AI to our living environment, especially the HDB estates. So right now, within the HDB estates, many agencies looked at different issues, cross-cutting issues. So for example, PUB would look at the drains, NEA will look at the greenery, HDB will look at the lifts, for example. So if a resident encounters problems in the municipality, first we need to identify what problem the resident is encountering before we can channel the problem to the right agency for follow-up. And this is quite an involved process and it requires quite a bit of time. So our aim here really is to, in the first phase, build a chatbot so that you can improve the efficiency of routing this type of feedback to the agencies. So hopefully through the application of AI in the chatbot, we can interact with residents and they can quickly provide relevant information to do with the feedback that they're encountering. And then we can quickly channel the feedback to agencies so that the follow-up can happen in a timely manner. Another initiative that we are embarking on for this project is on preemptive maintenance. So what we're hoping to do here is to really install more sensors in, for example, the drains and the lifts so that we can detect problems before they occur. And finally, we are also hoping to better understand how residents are using the facilities in our estates. And with this information, we can then better plan how, for example, covered walkways are designed to help residents get to the MRTs more quickly. And for example, how the exercise areas are designed so that we can benefit more citizens. The next project that we are embarking on for our national AI projects is in healthcare. And the aim here really is to improve the management of chronic diseases and to predict their occurrence. So the first stage for this project is to really pull together more data in the healthcare sector. So for example, genomics data, clinical data, as well as healthcare data. So with more data put together, we hope that we can paint a better picture of the individual and with that, create a personalized risk score for each individual to predict the likelihood of them contracting chronic diseases. We are also introducing solutions for clinical decision support for our doctors. So for example, right now, we have developed a solution called Selena, which uses a machine to do eye scans and to predict certain diseases through the eye scans. We are now in the process of deploying this Selena tool to more clinics around Singapore. Finally, we are also hoping that with the pooling of more data and better technology to interact with our citizens, we can help Singaporeans better manage their own chronic diseases. So for example, if you have a certain chronic disease, we hope that we can create a tool that can help you manage it by informing you of the correlation between the amount of exercise you are doing, your sleep patterns, your eating patterns, with the chronic disease that you currently have. I'll skip over education and border security, and I'll go to the ecosystem enablers now. There are 5 ecosystem enablers that we are hoping to build up in Singapore to support the deployment of AI. The first is on triple helix partnerships, AI, talent and education, data architecture, progressive and trusted environment, and finally, international collaboration. So for triple helix partnership, the aim here really is to strengthen cooperation between government, industries, and research. So what we are doing here is really to invest more in AI-related R&D to support the research ecosystem. We are encouraging more partnerships between research players and companies so that we can set up joint labs together so that whatever we develop through research can be quickly translated into industry applications. We are launching more initiatives to accelerate AI adoptions in Singapore. And we are also looking at our regulatory environment to establish more AI innovation test beds to enable AI suppliers to test their technology here in a risk-free and safe environment. Another area that we're focusing on is on AI talent and education. So for this trust, there are 2 broad goals. One is to increase the level of AI professionals in Singapore. So to do this, what we are hoping to do is to train more Singaporeans for high quality AI jobs. And we are also trying to attract more and better AI talent to Singapore to supplement the capabilities that Singaporeans have. Another thrust is to uplift the general population because we see going forward that more and more Singaporeans will be interacting with AI in their job or in their lives going forward. And we hope through general education to provide all Singaporeans with some basic computer literacy and basic knowledge of AI so that when they interact with such machines, they know what is in it for them and what are the risks that they need to take note of. Another important area that we think we need to work on is data. Our aim here really is to encourage greater data flows within government and also between the private and public sectors. So we think we can succeed if we can pull together rich data sources and data sources that are cross-sectoral. So Singapore is limited because we have a small population and we will not be able to compete in terms of the size of the data sets that we have. But if we were to get more sectors to cooperate, to bring together data from different aspects, for example, in healthcare earlier, I mentioned about bringing together genomics, clinical, and lifestyle data. We can create very rich data sets where each data point has many, many columns. And in doing so, we think that it will really benefit AI development. The next focus area that we are looking at is a progressive and trusted environment. And we think that this is a very important piece of work because AI is a black box and there are a lot of unknowns related to this new technology. So it's important for us to get the governance of this technology right so that we can get trust and buy-in to the deployment of this technology in Singapore. So we have done quite a lot of work in this area, and IMDA has launched the Model AI Governance Framework to guide a lot of the key ethical and governance considerations that companies should look at when they deploy AI. We think that it's also important to improve our IP regime and to create a top-class IP regime to support innovation and research in Singapore. Our final ecosystem enabler that we are focusing on is on international collaboration. So for this trust, what we're hoping to do is really to contribute to the international discourse so that we can help shape global standards and policy and guidelines that are so that they benefit our Singaporean companies and industries. We are also looking for opportunities to collaborate with other countries to, for example, embark on multinational AI projects so that we can share capabilities and know-how, and also to set up multi-site test beds so that solutions developed in each country can be deployed to the other country for testing. So how can the industry cooperate with us and Singaporeans cooperate to drive the national AI strategy? So we see quite a few opportunities here. We hope that more industry players can come forward and propose new national AI projects and perhaps be involved in the existing ones. We are constantly looking out for new projects that we can explore, and we'll be happy to hear the ideas that you have. We hope that industries can also proactively transform their businesses with AI, because many businesses are already doing it, and you will benefit if you do it. And the government is providing a lot of support for businesses in this area. We hope that talent research can participate more actively in the Singapore ecosystem so that we can create more industry relevant research solutions for our industry. And we hope that the general Singaporean can learn more about AI and eventually contribute as a member of the AI workforce. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for stressing. Next up, can we have Jia from GovTech to share with us his part? Jia, over to you. Thanks so much, Jessing.
Hey guys, thanks for attending the seminar. Let me share my screen. Hang on a second. Okay. All right. Okay. Show. Okay, can everybody see it? Okay,
yeah,
so yeah, I am Jia, distinguished engineer of the Smart Nation Sensor Platform. Today I'm presenting our platform. Okay, sorry, let me go back. All right, so basically, Smart Nation Sensor Platform is actually involved in many things. And I'm going to give you a really brief overview of what we do and then jump into the details. So the first thing we do is actually we collect a lot of data from unstructured environments from the real world. We collect them and there's no pattern or features within it. And then we contextualize it through machine learning, increasingly these days with deep learning. So we can actually get nonlinear features of it and then we act. So sense, contextualize, act is going to be the three main themes that I'm going to talk about, and we'll cover those in detail. So we do lots of things in our department. We have a lot of sensor platforms, both static and mobile. So we have lampposts, buildings, infrastructure, that sort of thing, but we also have lots of mobile platforms. So primarily for mobile platforms, we use robots, Lego robots, real robots, drones, and AUVs. We also are increasingly looking at motorcycles, vehicles, that sort of thing. So within these two platforms, we actually build our smart sensor payloads. And then the point is we want to actually do some sort of data exchange with various government agencies and also share it with the citizens and industry at large. So those are the future plans. Now, one caveat, or something I'm quite proud to say is a lot of our solutions, as you see in a moment, is actually built in-house. It's all in-house IP. Actually, it's built by me and my team. I'm director of the Robotics Smart Systems group within the Smart Nations sensor platform. And one of the things we're building is called the DOS, or Digital Operations Smart Services. We've built a lot of custom IP within it. We can do remote piloting, so we can pilot our robots anywhere in Singapore as long as they have 4G and 5G connection. We also work in large-scale outdoors autonomy, so we can scale it 24/7, so our robots can roam autonomously. And we're also very flexible. So we work with different kinds of robots, Lego robots, real robots, submersibles, drones, that sort of thing. The whole idea is so we can actually encompass and gather a 360-degree bubble, sensor bubble of the entire island and then make sense of it. So I'm sure you guys have seen this in the news. Actually, I'm the guy and my group is in charge of the Boston Dynamics Spot Mini platform. Beyond just being a really cool robot, actually, the Spot Mini platform is actually an open SDK. So we've built a ton of stuff on top of it on our robotics stack. Now, it's not just catered towards Spot Mini, but we're using Spot Mini as sort of a launch board for this sort of thing. So we built a lot of capabilities, like the beyond visual line of sight controls. We can do VSLAM, which is we can actually reconstruct the entire 3D mesh of what it sees in real time with just a single camera without LiDAR. We do autonomy. We do increasingly a lot of deep learning these days as well. One thing to note is in our group, all our code is on C++, more than C++ 14 and 17, because we care a lot about latency and performance. And increasingly, we're offloading a lot of workloads to GPU and CUDA because we're doing lots of deep learning, and a lot of the algorithms that we run are increasingly, computer vision or computer graphics based. So one of the things we're doing is the remote operations, which is the BV loss stack. And so you can see Spot actually climbing up M Parks. This is at Bishan Amokyo Park. This is running our custom beyond visual line of sight stack, which actually allows you to pilot the dog, again, anywhere in Singapore over a 4G and 5G connection. And we have done a lot of optimizations for this stack, actually. So it's actually robust enough to work under very adverse 4G conditions. So we actually have the robot piloting at the park, even in 1 bar signal strength. And it will stream all the video in real time through our custom C++ stack over 4G or 5G into our custom rendering engine, our custom rendering game engine, also complete in C++. So it's very high performance. So on the left, you can actually see medical staff at the Changi Exhibition Center running our robotic dog for the quarantine center. So this has been used, it's quite often, it's quite robust. And for MParks, for example, we were piloting a dog over a distance of 4 to 5 kilometers, remotely piloted from the MPark office over 4G. Okay, so the other thing they're working on is, of course, autonomy. So this is a very exciting project we're working on. Even though the lower left side of the screen, you can see it all traversing the office. What it actually is we're actually focusing on large-scale outdoors autonomy. So I mean specifically outdoors autonomy on unstructured terrain. So over bushes, trees, unpaved roads, that sort of thing, over staircases. And we are using a combination of techniques, traditional computer vision, regular traditional SLAM, both LiDAR and VSLAM. But also these days, if you want to do unstructured outdoor autonomy, you have to do lots of deep learning. So we're using deep learning for motion planning, controls, and point cloud reconstruction. For example, one of the papers we're looking at is a CVPR paper from 2019, which uses pseudo LiDAR. So you can reconstruct a 3D point cloud from a monocular image through a deep neural network. The whole point of doing all this stuff is to enable scalable operations for a 360-degree coverage sort of thing. So we can scale island-wide 24/7. We have robots running, throughout the entire place. So it enhances our efficiency. Now, I want to talk about getting structuring order from this order. So I mentioned we use a lot of machine learning, especially deep learning. Why is that? Because neural networks increasingly these days have been proven to be very successful in figuring out structure from unstructured data. So again, the same pattern you've seen before, but what we do is we take unstructured data and then we run it through like a deep neural network. It could be like FastRCNN, it could be, I don't know, YOLO, it could be an attention-based network, and then we do stuff with it, right? We can do human pose estimation, we can do image segmentation, we can also do maybe deep RL, so we can actually train a policy network and do a certain action. But the point is we take unstructured data, we analyze it through a deep neural network, and then we do inference on it in real time. Yeah, our entire deep learning pipeline is completely in real time. That's what we focus on, because we want our results, our inference results, to be reflected to us in real time so we can make the accurate decisions. So one of the things that we've done, other than robots, is we have also very smart sensor payloads. This is, of course, custom IP, again, developed by my group. One of them is called SPOTON, and this is a deep learning based smart thermal scanner for mass temperature screening. Actually, we deployed it yesterday at the nomination day, so it went pretty well, quite happy with it. We've also deployed this at JTC, at HDB, and actually a lot of places, including like the quarantine centers. What it does is you can actually detect up to 10 faces at once and give you the temperature per face within an accuracy of 0.3 to 0.5 degrees Celsius and within a 2-meter range. It's not affected by masks, hats, or any kind of headwear. And because we can focus on the face, it's not confused by hot or cold drinks. The other thing that's interesting about this solution is it's also cheap. So it's less than 900 Singapore dollars. So it's cheap, fast, and effective. And of course, it's real time because we run all our neural networks on the edge on the PC. The other thing we're also working on is real-time face mask detection. So this is actually going to spot on our robotic payloads. So we've trained all these deep neural networks to actually detect to see if you're wearing a face mask or not. And this whole real-time deep learning inference stack is again integrated fully into our robotic stack. Again, this is all custom IP. We spend a lot of time optimizing the performance of these networks to make sure they run properly. We have also been working on human tracking. So we can actually track humans, again, all in real time, all running on CUDA, on the GPU. And we can track, huge crowds of people using, again, a combination of deep learning and, traditional stuff like common filters and traditional computer vision. I want to emphasize that we don't actually, do facial recognition, and we also don't do people identification. We don't keep your private data. So we take privacy very seriously. Okay, so this is basically our whole loop. We sense data, as I mentioned, we collect data from outside, and then we contextualize it and we act on it. And this is sort of a feedback loop. You're going to see this theme recurring over and over again because it sort of reinforces itself. We get data, we contextualize, we act, and then it just makes the whole loops more and more accurate, right? So we feed in more data and we train these networks and they become smarter and smarter. So that's basically the thing that drives our group. We are, of course, not working alone. We're working with a lot of, I think, very talented folks in the industry. So, for example, we're collaborating with Microsoft for HoloLens. We have plans to actually integrate and work on the HoloLens SDK to make it interact with, say, Spot's ARM for robotics sensing and manipulation. We are, these days, you cannot do machine learning and deep learning without NVIDIA. So we have a technical collaboration with NVIDIA almost once every week or every 2 weeks. We're working with NUS on a large-scale deep learning-based unstructured autonomy for robots. And we are working with Stereo AI, who is actually a company that's in Boston, but it's run by a very talented Singaporean, Ray Jie. He used to be a VP of a self-driving car startup in Boston. He's decided to run his own company, and his group is all made of ex-Google, ex-people. People work on self-driving cars, the self-driving car project in Google. So those are the kinds of people we're working with. We are also making our APIs a lot more seamless and a lot more mature, so we can actually interchange them between different robotic solutions and different sensor solutions. That's also done within my group. I welcome everyone in the audience, especially industry people, to collaborate with us on these various things. I'm really excited about large-scale unstructured outdoors autonomy. I'm not interested in indoors autonomy. That's easy. I'm only interested in solving the really difficult problems. So large-scale outdoors unstructured autonomy in any kind of terrain, video and motion models. So these are like large-scale, large neural networks, attention models, transformers, that sort of thing, that have they're context aware. Like the recent paper, there was a context aware faster RCNN paper that dealt with sort of thing. It could actually train on videos that spanned over months or even like 1 year, and you could actually get more important contextual information from an attention-aware model. And of course, scene understanding, which is the core of what we're doing for robotics and autonomy. So that's what I'm more than happy to work with any smart, talented people in the audience, and they'll be fantastic. So yeah, I think that's my end of my presentation. We take the cyber physical world and meld it to the real world through a combination, our own like robotics stack, our own sensor stack. And you can contact us at sensorstech.gov.sg. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Xiaoyi. Appreciate this. And last but not least, I would like to give some time over to my fellow SGTech counselor and member, Timing. Hi, Timing.
Okay.
Hello. Thanks, Ivan.
You're welcome.
He's very excited to hear the updates from SNDGO and also GovTech. I mean, in the capabilities and the AI projects that the nation is doing to build ourselves into these new capabilities. So as part of SGTech, AI and HPC, a high performance computing chapter, we aim to have three things in our members to actually create awareness of AI and high performance computing and how to facilitate the adoption of AI and HPC. And finally, also one of our agenda is to nurture talents with AI and HPC ready skills. So actually to support the workforce of the future, right? So I'd like to also invite if members in the audience, they are not part of SGTech at the moment, to join the AI and HPC chapter. So anything you can reach out to the organizing committee or myself as well, so that we can come together and help to push the Singapore AI and HPC into the community, businesses and all that, right? So actually from the industry point of view, after hearing from both Jueqing and Jiayi, there's a lot of interesting questions that we like to ask, right? So Ivan, I'll just kickstart some questions first, before we hand over to from the Q&A coming in from the audience, right? So the first thing, probably the first question I want to ask Jue is, in the National AI Project, where are we today? What sort of projects have we completed? And actually, what are we working right now? And what are the next priorities? So that the industry can also hear and understand, and also we can actually find some ways to actually work together with the government to enable all this national AI project for Singapore companies as well.
Thanks, Timing, for the question. So for our national AI projects, we see it as a long-term piece of work to uplift the sector through AI. So what we're hoping to do really is to develop a coherent strategy anchored by different initiatives that may be implemented in different phases to eventually uplift the industry. So right now, there are certain low-lying fruits that we think we can implement quickly. So for example, the chatbot for the municipal services national AI project. For that, because we think we can implement quickly, we have already made certain progress in that, and we have already identified partners, and we have a plan on how to do this. So for example, participation specifically on the chatbot may be slightly more challenging. But what we are doing is we are constantly looking at the different, if for example, if you look at our National AI strategy document, it will outline some of the nearer term projects that we're embarking on and some of the longer term ones. So for example, for municipal services, the longer term project would be understanding the usage of the facilities in the municipalities. For that, we actually haven't really clarified how exactly we want to do it, and we will welcome ideas from the industry. And beyond those 3 projects that are stipulated in the document, we are also looking for others that would improve the situation in the municipality. So if the industry has new ideas to say that, okay, I have this product or I have this idea that I want to work with you on to improve the state of how the municipalities are being run or the education sector is being done, we welcome ideas. Then we will see how we can fit in all these ideas to the overall strategy. Yeah, and that's how I think right now we can best work with industry.
Okay. Thanks so much, Jessica. I'm going to, since you're on the line, I'm going to take this question first on collaboration. So first thing first, do you know when the AI rollout for the municipal will happen? Like all this chat application that you're talking about, like is it going to come out in the next quarter for our municipal systems?
Unfortunately, the timeline is not so quick. So I think right now we are still piloting. So we are doing it in phases. So for each of the technology, we'll probably roll out a small pilot to test to see whether it works first. And we are targeting to roll out a number of pilots early next year, at least by early next year. But actually our timeline is slightly delayed due to COVID. Yeah, so because of that, some of the projects have been pushed back. So after the pilot is successful, then we'll decide how we want to scale it. So it's not that soon that you will see results.
But I think it's great. As a citizen, I think all of us appreciate all this small pilot to make sure that resources are well allocated before we expand to a nationwide initiative. So on that note, I think this sounds interesting. You talk a lot about people can email. So let's talk about startups in Singapore. Some of our attendees here are representing much smaller startups. They might have some innovative solution. How should they email you? So everybody knows your email. Okay, I'll read your email again, sorry. info@tech.gov.sg, which I'll flash it again. How can all the startups, how should they approach you? Like, should they give you a use case? Should they, and even Xiaoyi can give us input on this later. Should they give you a use case? Should they give you a POC, or like, hey, I'm doing this and I think I have a great idea. This is how we should collaborate. How will you, as an engineer, would like to be approached with all the solutions?
Okay, maybe I start first, then I'll pass on to Xiaoyi. So for the National AI projects, if you were to look at the document, right, we actually have created a link and a form for industry to fill. So when you have an idea, you could fill out that online form. In addition, or you could of course email the email that was provided, and we'll assess based on impact. But we'll appreciate if you can provide as much information as possible and specify exactly where you want to work with us. For example, do you need funding? Do you need us to help address certain roadblocks? or you're simply selling a technology. Yeah, so that would be really helpful to us to assess the different things that come to us. Maybe just...
And Jia,
Actually, why don't you just send me something really cool? If your stuff is cool, send a video, send a link. We'll take a look. That's it. Yeah. I'm really excited by any kind of technology that's really cool. So just send it over. If it's cool, we'll get in touch. Thank you.
all right, I think to our staff member and even to our SME and ICT members are hearing it. So, since AI, gesturing, and of course, robotics and anything cool in technology, and I'm sure teaming and all of us at SGTech, if you guys are interested, we are always championing technology solutions. Teaming, you must have seen a lot of amazing AI and solutions. How can ICT companies work with SGTech and the government of Singapore? Any suggestion, any thoughts, especially coming from you, the AI and HPC chapters?
Okay, so we have been collaborating with the education industries, right? For example, to get them involved in AI knowledge, and we have run a couple of workshops, and also we have some industry workshop that we invite our members to come in to actually we have use case studies and all this to share with the members, right? So I mean for companies that wants to come along and work with us, right? We can join us so that we can have more of all this get together, understanding the new technologies, how we are pushing these technologies through schools, through labs with our partners, right? That we can actually push this AI initiative.
Thank you so much, teaming. So back to Sheshing, let's talk about all the sensors that are happening right now. And even Xia, you can comment on this. So we have so many sensors. Can the industry actually tap on some of these data sensors? I think that's something that a lot of the industry members, government is already installing so many sensors on all these items, right? Are you guys intending on letting industry use that data as well to benefit our own customers and come up more innovative solutions? Is that something on the roadmap for national initiative? Xia?
Yeah, I can take that question. Yeah, we actually have a census like gov.sg thing coming along. We also have a couple of, I think, really interesting things that would be relevant to the audience. We have a what you call data lake that is coming on live, which actually allows you very fast spatial queries of geospatial data. And we're planning to actually, when it's mature, roll it out so we can share it with the various agencies and also private sector. I think it'd be very interesting.
So data lake and of course census.gov.sg itself is available. Exactly. And I think, I think I have to do it. Go ahead, Jai.
Sorry, in the future, a lot of our edge sensor, machine learning, deep learning based solutions are also, for example, SPOTON. We have a lot of commercial queries. So we're actually going to make, not the dog, but actually the...
SPOTON, okay.
Yeah, SPOTON, yeah. So we actually have a lot of commercial queries. So we're actually like making the API, the framework we did, a lot more mature. So we're hoping that we can perhaps roll it out for different robotics companies so they can embed it in their robotic solutions for very fast, effective temperature scanning.
Got it. Thank you so much, Yai. Let's go back to stressing and teaming. So I have a few interesting questions coming from students who are actually attending this. I thought taking something about talent itself. We are definitely lacking on talent, as you guys, as all four of us have understand it so far. So stressing, maybe you can tell us, like, if I'm a com science graduate, for example, this question came into me in the message. How can I enter into the AI field or the sensory field? Like, what should be my next logical step? Should I join the government or should I take on additional courses if I'm a grad in com science? Any career advice for our younger audience members here?
I'm sorry, I don't think I'm very well placed to answer that question, but what I can say is NAIO, we are hiring. So if you have com science background or AI background and you want to look for a job, yeah, we are looking for people to join us, people who understand technology can help drive the strategy. But overall, on the ecosystem level, we understand that there are a lot of courses available everywhere. So for example, in our IHL, the Institutes of Higher Learning, and of course online, there are a lot of free programs. So what we are hoping to do is to supplement this with industry relevant work experience. So if you find it challenging after your course, for example, to get a job, and you would like to acquire some industry experience, you could consider approaching AI Singapore, because they run an AI apprenticeship program, and that will allow you to work on live industry projects and to gain some experience working with actual projects before, and then that will beef up your resume before you go into the.
Actually, I can take that question if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Zai.
Okay, so so the question is from I guess an undergrad, right? Like, what can I do? Yeah. So we should be more specific. Actually, to be honest, if you want to talk about AI, we're really talking about machine learning, and the recent trend is now actually deep learning. That's actually where the hot field is. So here's some useful advice for you. If you do want to get into the field, one thing I would highly recommend is you have a very strong background in math, especially probability and statistics. You really need that background. You also need a really strong background in algebra. Those will be the two fundamental theoretical backgrounds you need. And then the second part is you really need a strong background in computer science. And in particular, you should be strong in data structure and algorithms. That sort of thing you really should know. I do want to say that a lot of people who graduate from these places, if you only know like the bare minimum, like you only know Python, you're not going to get far in life. If you were to look at what's going on in the Bay Area, for example, if you want to be a serious machine learning engineer, you need to know how to code also in native languages, C, C++, that sort of thing, because there's two things. There's two phases of ML and deep learning. There's the training phase, which you use your usual like TensorFlow, PyTorch, MXNet, whatever, which you will construct your models in Python because you can iterate really quickly. But the second phase is you actually have to deploy it, and that's actually about performance. So even like Facebook or Google, they deploy in C and C++. And you also need to know a bit of system stuff because increasingly all these architectures are on a GPU. So my advice for you is that you don't actually need a real specialization in so-called AI, because I don't think it means anything. What you need to do is have a very strong mathematical foundation and a very strong computer science background. And if you're really serious about it, you might consider doing like grad school, like a master's at least, where you can then specialize in machine learning. And those candidates actually get really solid jobs. I would also recommend that, because it's internet today, all these papers are on archive, all these papers, CVPR, NeurIPS, whatever, they're all online, they're all free, and it's everywhere. So I highly recommend, you play around with the code and don't be afraid to ask questions. So that's my honest advice for you.
Thank you, Zai. I think SPOTON is a true engineer in the context of career. So Timing, back over to you. How else are you going to can industry be part of this entire conversation apart from joining SGTech, which we already said already? How else and where do you see opportunities? You yourself, your company is in the AI space. Where do you see the opportunities that ICT companies should be thinking about?
Okay, so maybe I'll break this part into two. Actually, the first part I wanted to substantiate also on the education part. In the AI and HPC chapter, we also work with IHL, and sometimes they roll out new courses and all that. Those courses needs to be relevant to the industry. So we work with the lecturers, the professors, and all that. When they come up with the course structure, we actually look at it and actually endorse some of this course structure so that we can encourage students that may or may not are in AI right now can actually join those courses and get themselves up to speed and slowly build up the AI education for them, right? So on the business front. I'm coming in from my industry. I'm actually working on a lot of digital payment and identity. So in terms of our own business itself, we ran high performance computing servers so that we can actually train our algorithm in Singapore, because this technology is actually owned by us. We are quite happy that we're able to actually put some effort and then put into this AI business, right? And the other thing is also we are working a lot on things in terms of the payment side, right? So we are building in engines, that need to be smart enough to actually look at looking at all the analytics, the credit, the kind of product catalog that you can actually come up with, and new services and recommendation and all that. So these are some of the things we see that are coming from our own business, we're actually embarking a lot on AI and actually a lot of digitalization, because at DERA itself, we have a lot of, we have some traditional business that actually now we are trying to digitalize. So we are working on our own business as well as industry, and also in terms of the HPC, and how can we actually leverage on this and actually transform our business into more AI capable as well. So I think on the industry side, I think some of the companies out there, they do have their own business, right? So their own business are actually looking at all these pressures and demand. That's where they have product and services that can tailor and join into the AI. And the next thing is, of course, with SNDGO and also with GovTech coming in, a lot of AI initiatives and projects. This is where we can actually put in our expertise and work together with these two organizations, to actually, put our products inside there and also enhance our capabilities along together with Singapore companies. Yeah.
Well said. So everyone, we know we have a few more minutes. I just want to do some future forecasting, and how we see the future. So we're gonna start with Jia Yi. I think this is an interesting question. This is our final question for the day. Like, on your side, how do you see? And you talk so much about robots, right? How do you see robots impacting a Singaporean life? Like, apart from now that we see spots in the park to looking after us for safe distance, do you see a greater involvement in robots in our everyday life?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I could preface this by saying that the reason why robotics is so interesting right now is actually, well, less so robots, but more because we have machine learning. And that actually allows us to do a lot of very interesting things with these robots. But moving forwards, right, robots obviously are going to be more important because we have an aging population. So we need some kind of machine to augment or help people do their jobs, right? That's quite obvious. But the other thing that's really interesting is we need to stop thinking of robots as robots. So a lot of the things that we think of as robots are changing. They're actually just melding directly into our everyday life. So robots aren't just a machine that has legs and moves around. Anything that sort of automates your life, there's actually a very gray line between a smart sensor and a robot at this point. So I think the summary is it's going to be a lot more pervasive, to the point where it might be just like your phone. You won't even think about it, and it will just be making a lot of very hopefully smart decisions for you to help your daily life.
Thank you, Jia Yi. And interesting, AI sensors, how will every Singaporean life be transformed, or even in the context of businesses, are they going to be able to leverage all of this into amazing new ways for new opportunities for Singaporeans?
Wow, I think that's a difficult question to answer. So I think our hope is, yes, it will impact our lives more and more, and we will be able to promote the adoption of AI more quickly. But what we hope to do is really to do this in a systematic manner, because there are quite a lot of unknowns associated with AI use, and actually some of the questions that are dismissed, I see certain concerns about governance, security, etc. And so what we are hoping to do is to really be problem focused and take a step-by-step approach and be willing to experiment, do more pilots, so that we don't deploy for the sake of deploying. Yeah, so that we take a practical approach, do something that will translate to real outcomes for Singaporeans and for businesses, and then we progressively expand along the way. So that's how I hope, or at least my department hopes, AI will be adopted going forward, so that we can continue to build trust. Because once we lose the trust factor, then it will really impede the use of AI.
I think that is something so critical. One of the questions that, of course, we didn't address in this session, I think will be better addressed in a smaller session with partners who are actually doing AI software and solutions, is, of course, the issue of privacy, the issue of cybersecurity, and the issue of data protection itself. SGTech would be happy to take this conversation in a bit more non-public setting. I think those require a deeper discussion. And to all these members who ask those questions, of course, you can drop us an email to GovTech or Smart Nation Office at info@tech.gov.sg, or directly to Jessing at sensors.tech.gov.sg. We were happy to take the conversation. And last but not least, teaming. Yeah, I think a lot of potential for ICT companies. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, actually there are two fronts over here. So on the business side, I hope that with AI can be really, very smart, that we can actually develop a lot of innovative solutions for the businesses on the commercial world, right? For example, in the commercial world, with things like, whenever I'm hungry or something, right, the application instantly knows and suggests the right things that I may want to try out, things like that, right? And also in terms of, automation, like in terms of, for example, let's say finances, right? So because there are so many fixed deposits, so many house loans, etc. So, for this special capable application to be able to optimize everything for me, right? So I can just take a look and I know, okay, actually I should do this at this certain time. I get the best maximum fixed deposit, for example, and loan, etc. So you can actually maximize the potential in terms of financial as well. So these things are, I hope that, in the future, this can be really super smart for the consumer, and also for businesses, we can build really, really smart application that is very, very, very useful to, consumer and citizens or businesses worldwide.
All right. Thank you so much, Timing. On behalf of SGTech, I really, really want to spend today to thank to all our 3 audience members. Let me just share this. Panelists, Jessing, Senior Assistant Director, National AI Office, Jia Yi, Distinguished Engineer, GovTech, and of course, our very own SGTech Timing, EXCO member, AI and High Performance HPC Chapter, SGTech. The email for SGTech is on the screen, the GovTech email as well. I think we have a lot of questions that we were not able to get to. Our apologies due to the short time, but I'm sure we would like to take them forward with you in the individual conversation as well. So on behalf of SGTech and on behalf of the Smart Nation Office, thank you so much for joining us in this series. Please help us do a post-webinar survey. This will help us improve our session for the future events. Now, always keep a lookout for EDNs for our new sessions about reimagining the government OS itself. We will come out new events in the short run time. So once again, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Jessic. Thank you, Jia, and thank you, Timing.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.